Yo. Hey. So, welcome to this episode of the Riley Seaburg podcast. I'm your host, Riley. And today I'm shooting on Restream because I think it's pretty cool. And we've been using it at work. And so I figured, hey, I might as well just use this to make my content too. So, a lot has been going on. We had the memorial for my mother yesterday, and it was really nice. It was nice and simple. We brought her ashes back to my house, and it was pretty cool. Ate a lot of subs, hung out with the kids, and talked a lot, right? And a lot of people like to talk a lot, right? That's the one thing that we all have in common. We all like to talk, and the question is, like I like to talk too, but sometimes I talk too much. So the best thing I always do is just be quiet, right, and listen. So yesterday I was doing a lot of listening, and so today I'll do a little bit of talking. And I've been thinking a lot lately about why we become the way we become, and I think a lot about this a lot because you see this a lot in life, right? Especially as you get older, if you're still alive, you don't die. Some people change, some people stay the same. And a lot of people always wonder, like, why? Like, what's that thing that like made this person go where they wanted to go in life and this person didn't? Like, how come how come this person seemed like they had everything going for them, but they're not happy? They drink a lot. They're kind of overweight. Like, why are they this way and this other person's this way and they don't have that much and they're still kind of happy? Like, or they're more like whatever. And basically what it comes down to is what you choose to focus on. And I talk to a lot of people about this thing all the time, and only some people like to listen, right? Because though we hate to admit it, a lot of us are addicted to this thing called negativity, right? And this thing called negativity is kind of rewarding, right? It's kind of rewarding. Hey man, sometimes like it gives you that thing that you need to move you forward, right? There's a reason it was built into our body, right? It's a biological reflex, right? And that's cool, right? You can have that thing, right? Or you can make a choice, right? So a lot of people boil this down to the choice to be reactive or proactive, right? But it goes deeper than that, right? Because if you're reacting or if you're being proactive, like the question is like, what's the stimulus? What's the catalyst? What's the source, right? And this gets a little bit away from the topic of what I was talking today, but I think that if you understand the reality of the situation and you kind of can grasp the thing that's coming at you, then you can give yourself the freedom to actually make a choice of how to engage or whether or not you even want to engage, right? So I guess this was in Man's Search for Meaning, but this is something that I kind of figured out myself. There's a distance between stimulus and response, right? And the real masters in life learn to spread that out as far as humanly possible, right? And so basically they stop responding, and that you can't trigger them with anything, right? And so from like I remember I was telling my therapist a couple of years ago, like all I'm trying to do is bridge that gap, right? Certain days it's wider, certain days it's not, and certain times of the day. So anyways, like the point is when it's close, the reaction to the stimulus is really quick. It's very fast, right? And if you think of the way a stimulus, like you would typically respond to a stimulus, it's almost always an instinctual reaction, and instinctual reactions aren't always educated, right? So, especially the type of world that we live in, like how often is an instinctual reaction actually going to like help you? Probably not that often. It's going to hurt you a little bit more than it's going to help you, right? So that's what I've been trying to figure out is like, how do I make these instinctual reactions stop just popping out of nowhere, right? How do I keep these things at bay, right? And what I realized is, well, there's certain things that I do that really, really, really put me on edge. And there's certain things that I do that relax me and make me calm, right? And the question is what am I doing when I'm doing those things? And I'm choosing what to focus on, right? Like, so when I'm outside of myself, when I'm in that negative vibration, I'm usually focusing on something external, right? Some type of thing going on in the world outside of myself, right? And because I feel this way, then I start to get out of control, get erratic. My decision making is completely off. You can't even have a conversation with me. And it's because I'm like, oh, I'm scared, right? And I'm put in that fear-based response. And it's because I'm having an instinctual reaction, and my gap between stimulus and response closed down, right? So there's a bunch of things you can do to open that gap, right? But I'll talk about that in other episodes of the podcast. What I really want to focus on today is the fact that all of this can be taken care of. This is a quick yoga of the mind. All of this can be taken care of when you choose to focus on something that is not the external thing, right? So when it's the external thing that's provoking a fear response, when you choose to focus on something that's not that fear response goes away, right? And here's something that's even more powerful. When you choose to focus on something that you're actually grateful for, then you eliminate the fear response and you empower yourself with a response of gratitude, which is always empowering, right? There's a certain little taste that gratitude has to it that like flutters in your chest, right? I don't know. It's just it's nice to have. So and it's hard to remember, right? It's hard to remember to be grateful, especially because life is so tough. So we think, right? And when life is tough, it's exceptionally challenging to remember to be grateful, right? But this is where you got to really start looking at life in a certain way and really try to figure out like who you are, why you're here, and like what you stand for. Because some of us believe that life is a choice and that the things that come to us are a choice, right? Whether we consciously made that choice, who knows? But it's all a choice, right? And so if shit's happening, well, you can choose to focus on the shit that's happening and be grateful for it, for a new opportunity to get stronger, to learn, to grow, right? Or if you're not there yet, you can choose to focus on what you already have and be grateful for that. Because there's some people who have less and are more grateful. Right? Did that sink in a little bit? Does that make sense? yeah, there's a weird thing about gratitude that the more you have, the more things you have, the more material wealth you're given, the less gratitude you actually have, right? And you start running into a problem because when things lose their value, people lose their value, right? And when people lose their value, people lose their lives. And if you look outside the world, we are living in a situation where people have lost their value because they no longer value anything. Nobody knows what they live for. Nobody knows what they're grateful for. Nobody's taking the time to think about why they're here. And the people that are not having issues, right? Because they have all of their stuff figured out. They know why they're here. They know what problems they need to learn through. They know how to solve them. They have a roadmap on how to get there. They just are trying to live their life so they can do it. And everybody else is getting in the way, right? So if you don't know these things, then you have to take the time to learn them for yourself because nobody can teach them to you. One of the good things to hold on to and to start with is gratitude and finding the things that you can be grateful for, right? Being grateful for a challenge is a high level understanding, right? So being grateful for poverty is almost impossible to do, but I'm telling you, you can do it, right? Why would you want to be grateful for poverty? Well, it's an opportunity to learn self-sufficiency. It's an opportunity to learn that you don't need anything to make something for yourself, right? And there's this thing in everything that you could say, right? And the opportunity is for you to figure out what that is. And as you do that, nobody can take that from you. That now becomes something that becomes a part of you. That's yours. So when life does get hard, you can say, no. I have this. I'm still grateful for this. I remember that. Because these are the things that hold life together. Your conscious choice to remember. So, what are you grateful for? What are you grateful for? Send me an email, Riley@rileyseaburg.com. Thank you.